So guys, hi, how are you all? I hope you can see and hear us clearly. And we're back with HYFI Fridays, where every Friday we'll be with you to talk about the latest developments in the HYFI blockchain project, as well as other questions that you may have. We'd love to answer them. I'm Rohas Nagpal. With me is Shinam Arora.
Hi.
Hi, Shinam. I hope you're able to hear and see everything clearly. I think you're on mute.
No, I did say hi.
Okay, awesome. So, Shinam, would you like to start by just briefly telling us about the application that you've made to the regulatory sandbox in Gift City?
Yeah, so we have made an application to IFSCA Gift City. So it's as of now, if you can see, creators can use their NFTs to tokenize and monetize the creations. But what comes with it is very high transaction fees, and sometimes the transaction fees need to be paid upfront. So additionally, a very large of NFTs are a work of plagiarized work, and they're frauds. Fraudsters are there. There are a lot of rug pulls are also there. So what happens with this is, using HYFI, a content creator can actually fractionalize, give a fractional license of the intellectual property. So basically what we are calling it as a flip. So it's a smart asset that actually represents the whole or a small part of an intellectual property. So about this, we've already submitted an application for approval to IFSC under a regulatory sandbox. So if we get if we will, fingers crossed, we will get a permission, and then we can take this use case live, and we can do a test runs before we open it for the public.
Awesome. So just to fill you in a little bit more about the details about why we are going through the approach of the regulatory sandbox. As you all have noticed that over the last few weeks, there have been a lot of legal actions being taken against many of the crypto exchanges. And we expect to see similar actions happening against some of the projects also, including some of the blockchains, because a lot of misuse as far as anti-money laundering laws are concerned is also happening, and a lot of crime is also happening. So the government of India has set up in the Gift City in Gujarat, they have set up an authority called the IFSCA. And under that, special permissions and a regulatory sandbox is being operated. So we want to take all our use cases through the sandbox so that there is absolutely no compliance or legal problem. Because the logic is very simple. We don't want to get into use cases and then realize sometime down the line that there are some regulatory problems with it. As we've always maintained for hybrid finance blockchain, the biggest thing is that everything should be as per KYC, AML, and compliance issues. That's the reason we're taking this approach. Of course, the slight disadvantage is that it takes time to get approvals done. But the benefit is once the approvals are done, these are like unique projects globally, and it'll benefit everyone, the entire ecosystem.
So basically, so I was saying basically they give you a test environment, which is like a real life scenario with dummy data, but with real regulators, as in what kind of compliances can be on place. And if you are able to go through everything, and then you are good to go for the public, as in like you can open it to the world.
There's a very interesting question from Udav about, can you still achieve decentralization with this approach? That's an excellent question. So see, when we talk about decentralization in the blockchain world, first of all, I'd like to clarify, most of the top blockchain projects in the world are not decentralized. There is a huge element of centralization, whether we look at the Binance chain where you need millions of dollars to be stuck in before you can become a validator, whether it is Bitcoin, where the top 5 mining pools control 60%, that's one issue. Now, secondly, when we talk about decentralization, what do we really mean? Now, even in this approach where everything is going through regulatory channels, any verified entity can run a node, right? So as you know, hybrid finance blockchain is a permission blockchain. Anybody in the world can run a node as long as their identity is verified. Now, the moment you are running a node, all transactions are visible to you. Any keys that you create on your node, private keys, are not available to anybody else in the world. So from that aspect, when we look at it, the level of decentralization is very high because we are not following a competitive proof of work, nor are we following a proof of stake approach where you need huge amounts of money to actually validate transactions. We are following the round robin proof of work, which is explained on our website. So anybody could actually be part of the mining process with near zero electricity and mining costs, and near zero, you don't need to have money stuck up in it. It's not a proof of stake. So in those ways, it is much more decentralized than any of the other blockchains. Udav, I hope that answers your question. If not, you can add to it. I'd love to answer that question. Excellent question, by the way. In the meanwhile, does anybody else have any questions? Okay. Would anyone else like to ask anything? There are lots of other interesting things that we are also planning. Now the airdrops would begin very shortly. So the first phase of airdrops was already done, I think, a month ago. So all the people who had applied at that time, of course, that time the airdrop was much higher. I think the quantity was about 1,000 tokens each. So those who applied at that time have all been given those 1,000 tokens. The second round is a lower one where it is 100 tokens each. But we'll be starting that distribution also very shortly.
But earlier, all the people who applied and who were verified, we've given it. But this time it's going to be a contest sort of a form.
Sure. I'm sure you'll be announcing all these details very soon. Crypto mining requires too much electricity. You're absolutely right, Deepak. And that is the reason in hybrid finance blockchain, we are not doing the competitive proof of work. So crypto mining requires this cost only if it is firstly competitive proof of work, example being Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and all these cryptos. And secondly, where you have a large number of miners competing with each other. What we follow is called a round robin proof of work, where there is a series of nodes, verified entities, and each entity gets one chance at mining that particular block. So the electricity cost is not even a fraction.
Yeah.
It is like virtually 0.001%. Cryptos too much echo. Deepak, I didn't understand your question. Could you just clarify? In the meanwhile, as Sheenam was saying, that she'll be putting details about the airdrop very shortly. So Gautam's question is, what is the core problem that the HYFI blockchain solves for? For example, in DeFi, anonymity, decentralization is what they're going for. Okay, so we are trying to connect the centralized world, centralized finance with decentralized finance, and that's why we call it hybrid finance. So where in the DeFi world, there is no KYC, AML, and which is why all the regulatory problems come. And in the centralized finance world, the problem is you're too dependent upon entities. So we are combining those two, where we want regulated entities to be part of this system. And we want anybody and everybody in the world to be assured that they are dealing with verified entities, but because it is on a blockchain, you have control over your assets. So we are merging the two, and we've explained this in detail again on our website and in our yellow paper. So do have a look at it. Very clearly, we have outlined the problem that we are solving. And the main use case that we are going with, the main use case is tokenization of assets. So whether that's intellectual property, which could be copyright in a book or a movie, or it is an agricultural commodity, a precious metal, real estate, any real world asset, you should be able to tokenize on the hybrid finance blockchain. So that's the single use case that we are going with. Hope that answers your question. Yagnadeep says, is the entity picked randomly by algorithm? Yeah, that's a very good question. So what happens? So I don't know if you play table tennis. So, you know, when there are more than two players and we do a toss and we want to select two people who will play, everyone gets one shot and then you keep moving around the table. That's called round robin. That's exactly the same way what happens. So suppose there are 10 entities. The first block is mined by entity 1, then 2, then 3. Now suppose 4 is down, it immediately moves to the 5th one. So it goes in a round robin fashion, and if any particular node is down, it skips to the next one. And another thing that I want you all to understand is that when we look at mining, so one thing you must all understand is every transaction is digitally signed by the private key of the holder of that token. So just because X person mines or Y person's mine doesn't mean they can take your assets away. That they can never do because they do not have your private key. The worst case scenario that could happen in a blockchain is your transaction may get delayed because a miner would not take your transaction because you're not giving him fee. But that problem doesn't apply here because on our blockchain, there is zero fee. So there is never a worry that you have to pay per transaction. So you could make 1,000 transactions a day. Your gas fee will still remain zero. So that's another major difference between us and most of the other blockchains out there.
Very interesting.
Ashank has asked about real estate.
Yeah.
So when we, yes, you know, in the middle, if you want to pick up a question, feel free. Otherwise, I'll keep speaking and you won't get an opportunity. So when it comes to real estate, so we are talking to some of the large real estate owners, whether it is commercial, residential, or even land. And what happens is the ownership of that property goes to a custodian, you know, someone who is legally recognized. They hold the ownership so that you're not worried about someone running away with the land or the property, and then that land is tokenized or the real estate is tokenized and different people can own it. But when it comes to real estate, there are lots of laws in place. So which is again the reason we are going for every use case, we are going through the regulatory sandbox. Now the first use case we have already applied, like Shinam told you, that is for intellectual property. And then after that, step by step for each use case, we will be doing an application to the relevant regulatory sandboxes, not just in India, but across the world. Gagan has asked, suppose I want to start my own token over a particular blockchain, say Ethereum, and I want that to be listed on various crypto exchanges in the world. What is the roadmap that I need to follow? Sure. So Gagan, what you've got to realize is creating these tokens is very simple. You could use a service like Open Zeppelin, where they give you ready-made contracts. You could just use that contract and then mint it on Ethereum, Binance, or any of the other EVM compatible chains. Now, once it is there, then you approach the crypto exchanges. They will ask you for a lot of information, including documents. Yep.
Before that, you get your contract verified by submitting it to, so for example, it's Ethereum, then you have to go to Etherscan, or from Binance, you have to go to BSC Scan. You submit an application with the details of your social media accounts, your personal accounts, the token that you have, what is the purpose of building the token, along with the submit the source code of that, like the smart contract. After that, you go to an exchange, and then exchange will also ask you about the pros and cons and what is the reason that you started it, what is the purpose of starting it, how the value will be defined, and then you have to make an initial deposit with an exchange and then maintain something called an order book.
So you need to actually put in a lot of the tokens and US dollars against it. So for each currency that you want a trading pair with, so suppose you say I want it with USDT, then you have to submit say $10,000 or $20,000, and you pay a listing fee which could be again from $10,000 to $80,000 depending on the exchange. That's how the whole process goes. So all the best for your project for that. Likit has asked, how does this become truly global? With each project have to go through regulatory sandboxes of each country? Very good question. As of right now, if you look globally, India is probably the only country which has such a solid sandbox for blockchain use cases. Now, as you are aware, the HYFI project is based out of Wyoming in the US. So the Wyoming government, Wyoming is a state in the US, they have come out with a series of laws around blockchain. So there is no need for us to apply for a regulatory sandbox. It is only in India that there is a specific sandbox, and that's the reason we've applied there, because it is truly a unique sandbox. And I believe that once we have an approval from this sandbox, operating globally is not a problem. And as you know that our core team is all India based, so we are very, very keen on having the Indian sandbox approvals. Having said that, like I said, in the US, especially in Wyoming, the laws are very clear. We don't need it. So we don't actually need to go for multiple sandboxes. The IFSCA is the only sandbox that is really required at this stage, because we definitely want to do business for Indian citizens also. Gagan has asked, thanks for the detail. Okay. Sanjay has asked, hi, can you please repeat the announcement about your project which you made in the beginning? No, so we just said that we'll be restart. We are back with our Friday session. So every Friday at 4 p.m. this is the same URL that you can come to. And whatever questions you have about the project, we'll be here to answer it. And we'll also be telling you about all the updates about what we are doing. And for now, the biggest update is we are awaiting for the regulatory sandbox approval.
And apart from that, in case if you want, you have some specific thing that you want to discuss about HYFI, please feel free to tell us in advance, and you can drop us a message or DM on our social media channels or on HYFI page. We'll be happy to take on that topic as well.
Would anyone else have any questions that you'd like answered? Mukund has asked, how can this blockchain be used for DOAs? I am presuming you mean DAO as in DAO, the Decentralized Autonomous Organization. Could you just clarify, Mukund, if that's what you're talking about? DAO, okay. So you can't. Because see, what we are building here is not an alternative to Ethereum. So when we look at how Ethereum functions, the logic of Ethereum is anybody in the world can come and create their own tokens on Ethereum and do their own business. So a DAO could also use it. That's not our use case. We have one single use case in the world, which is tokenization. So we want entities from around the world to be able to create any token backed by a real world asset. But because we are very stringent on the legal processes, so everything will go an approval process where a legally recognized custodian will actually hold all the assets. To give you a very simple example, in Brazil, a coffee coin has started where each coin is backed by a fixed amount of coffee, so 1 kilogram of coffee beans. Or in Argentina, you have soya and wheat against which a coin is issued. But in every case, you need a custodian who actually physically holds it. Otherwise, it will become like any other crypto, which could fall 90% at any time. So that's the reason we do not allow anyone to just come and start running their own projects. The only single project that we allow is tokenization. Having said that, anybody in the world can tokenize any asset as long as the legal processes are followed. So Mukund, I hope that answers your question. Uda wants to know about, I'm curious about how to start building in the HYFI blockchain. Sure. So like I said, our use case is tokenization. So if you have any use case around tokenization, get in touch with us and we'll take it forward. And it could be anything from intellectual property, real estate, agricultural commodities, precious metals, everything. Can this be presumed to be facilitating real world securitization on blockchain? So like I said, the word is tokenization. And what tokenization enables is that it democratizes anything. So let's take a very simple example. Let's say in Dubai, there is this really fancy new commercial building. Now, I believe it's a good investment, but I don't have millions of dollars to buy a property in there. So I should be able to buy even 1 square foot. So kind of like what a mutual fund has done for the capital markets, where you could invest tiny amounts of money through SIPs and all. We want to bring that same thing for any asset. Shinam, would you like to add on that? I think you're on mute.
No, I couldn't. In between, your voice has gotten lagging, so I
Okay.
couldn't have the question.
Can we start? Keshav asked, can we start REIT with HYFI? Yes, as long as the legal permissions are in place, definitely. So get in touch with us. We'll file a separate application for your use case, and definitely you can do that. Can yield risk also be tokenized to create derivatives? Mukund, yeah, that's an excellent question. Definitely it can be done. But like I said, every use case will go through the path of regulatory sandboxes so that we don't end up, making a mistake or violating a law without even realizing. Yeah. Sanjay says, can we tokenize the Taj Mahal? Well, if you own the Taj Mahal, most definitely. So if a government wants to tokenize its properties, then naturally they can. Yeah. Right? It's the rightful owner only who can do that. So I hope that answers your question, Sanjay. So we are not really restricting what kind of assets or which assets are being tokenized as long as the law allows it. Sanjay says, I'm joking. Yeah, but it's a good idea. I mean, the governments of so many countries could actually tokenize, if not the asset, they could tokenize the revenue streams. So suppose a particular government, right, earns revenue from some assets, it could share revenue with the people. That would be an amazing thing. Highways, bridges, all of these also could come. So that's definitely a good idea. So Rohan says that 100% he would like to buy Taj Mahal tokens. Yeah, sure. I would love to buy that too. 1 second, let me see Keshav's question. Tokenization. Shinu, are you able to read the question? Because going up too fast.
Yeah, Agnideep is asking who is going to verify the entities. That's why we
by the custodian. Yeah. So what happens is, in India, for example, whenever a company raises a debenture issue, debentures are secured debt. So they have to go first to a SEBI registered debenture trustee or a custodian. They hold all the documents, do all the verifications, only then things move forward. So it's the same thing here. A legally recognized trustee or custodian has to verify. Only then can something be tokenized. We are very, very clear on that. Everything has to be absolutely legally soundproof. By the way, you guys can catch me on Republic TV today evening, where they are actually discussing about, whether crypto is a scam and what kind of problems because of the WazirX and other issues that have come up. So Republic TV has done an expose on it. They've done some kind of a investigative journalism, and I'll be there today at 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock. So feel free to watch me there also. And it'll also make you understand why we are being so serious on the legal aspect. Shinam, can you read out some more questions?
No, there are no questions. I can see follow requests. I was watching on Republic sound pretty serious, wherein they wanted to ban crypto.
Yeah, so if we look, in fact, that's a very good question, a very good point you've raised. So if you look at the Indian government and the way the approach they've taken is a very good approach. So they've gone with a asset-based approach where a crypto is considered an asset. Hence, it is governed by the Income Tax Act. And as we can see in that is there's flat taxation put and a 1% TDS on VDAs, virtual digital assets. But when we have an asset or a crypto which is backed by a real world asset, it is not coming under VDA. So the government has issued a clarification, and that's the use case we are here. That it is backed by a real world asset, so it will not come under VDA, and that 30% tax and 1% TDS does not come into that. Yeah, Nitin has said there was a debate yesterday. Yes, the debate is there today also. I'll be participating in today's debate. Are there any other questions?
No, not that I can see.
Some that went up, I think I saw some.
No, not that I saw. No, they are.
Okay. Ramesh says, do you think there are any applications in the healthcare sector? Yeah, that's a good point here. As far as tokenization is concerned in healthcare, I'm not really aware of any use case, unless, of course, say a hospital gets tokenized, or the revenue streams of a hospital get tokenized, or even the intellectual property of a vaccine could. So, you know, vaccines are protected by patents which have a lifespan of 20 years. So definitely a company could tokenize that, raise money from people to develop and build this patent, and then they could share revenues for the next 20 years. So definitely that's a good use case. So that comes under the intellectual property.
Keshav, it's at 8 o'clock on Republic TV.
That's correct. What time today's debate and which channel? Yeah, so okay, so it's that actually two. One is at 8 p.m., one is at 9 p.m. I'm not sure what the difference is, but I'm probably on both. And it's on Republic TV. And by the way, you can always catch me on NDTV again on Fridays. So there we do a Hindi and English show, 6:30 and 7.
I've also got missed calls from Republic TV.
Okay. Yagnadeep says, are you going live with Arnab? I'm not sure of that. Yagnadeep, it's my first time on Republic TV. So I'm not sure how it's going to be there. Can we tokenize a future product as well and use it as crowdfunding? Yes. That's a very good question from Yamini. Yeah, that's a very good point. Definitely you can. So like I said, as long as the legal issues are in place, definitely like even a vaccine making company could tokenize future rights in the vaccine. Similarly, any business idea that you have, as long as there is a real world asset backing that token. So we are not in the business of tokens backed by nothing. Those are pure crypto assets. So for you, take an example of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is an example of a crypto asset which has value in itself, but not backed by any real world asset. We are not into that use case. I'm not trying to say Bitcoin is good or bad. I'm saying that's a whole different use case. We are going for tokenization of real world assets. Nitin says, can a new company like a software company create their shares in the form of tokens which can be put up? Yes, that's a very good question, Nitin, and definitely, and that's already happening. So, for example, I think Binance did this some time ago where custodians in Germany hold shares of companies like Amazon, and then they are tokenized on the Binance exchange also. Yeah, that's definitely something they can do. But a future company or idea could be misused for rug pulls. Yamini, yeah, that's a good point. See, we must remember that nothing in the world is 100% foolproof. So definitely there is always a chance. We will do our due diligence. We will make sure everything is legally approved. There is always be a chance of something.
But yeah, just in real world, the same kinds of stuff happens, and same things can happen in blockchain world.
Tokenize a movie where there is no single producer. Yeah, in fact, Yagnadeep, movies is my favorite use case because movies make money for like 50 years after the movie is also made. The copyright can be distributed. So in fact, that's the use case for which we have applied for regulators. Right. Movies, books, and music.
Yeah. Yes.
Yamini says the good news is that it is not anonymous and there is KYC. So it's, yes, absolutely correct. So we don't really believe in the anonymity aspect. You're doing business, so you should be open and upfront. People should know who's running the business. So yes, it's completely transparent. Any other questions? And by the way, personally, I wanted to let you guys know I run a project called Learn. So in fact, right now, if you are on the Creator platform, on top you'll see something called Learn and Earn. So every time you attend a stream, even this current stream that you're in, you are actually earning Learn tokens in your Creator wallet. And then you will be able to exchange these or redeem these with other courses that a lot of creators are going to launch. So there are about 50 of us creators who have already started the Learn project. They're using it. And we'll be then coming out with special courses only available to Learn token holders. So just I wanted to let you guys know about that. Koda, would you like to read out the next question from Vignesh?
Given it's all going through the regulatory authorities, we should be able to use the judicial system as well when there is some fraud, right?
Absolutely correct. You will be able to, yes. You will be able to. Yagnadeep,
I don't learn is live for this session.
It is. Vignesh, if I'm not mistaken, they will be earning Learn tokens for this session also.
I don't think so.
No, I'm sure it is. It is. So what happens is by the end of the day or the end of the session, it'll get refreshed in your wallets. So Yagnadeep, don't worry, you are getting Learn tokens.
I have a question. Will you also be getting Learn tokens since it's your project?
No, it's my project. I came out with a project, but now it's everybody's project. We already have 50 creators using it, and anyone in the world is being invited to use it.
You also get it?
I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Vivan is here. Vivan, I thought you were in Goa. So Vivan is in Goa for some Web3 meets, and we're waiting for him to share some nice photos and videos with us. So Vivan, how's it going? Has the event already started? Okay, that's great. Are any of you guys also in Goa for the Web3 event that is happening?
I so wish.
Oh, it's tomorrow. Oh, okay. That's nice. And we're going to have some very interesting announcement coming from Creator and HYFI side about a very interesting hackathon and blockathon that we are planning, but I won't say anything yet. Nitin says he's bought the online pass for it. Oh, that's interesting. So Vivan, we're going to wait to make that announcement early next week. Anyone else has any other questions or anything they'd like to discuss? And just because it's called HYFI Fridays doesn't mean we have to only stop it at HYFI. Feel free to discuss anything about the DeFi blockchain ecosystem, and we'll be most happy to talk. When will the meetups happen in Pune? Mukund, that's a very good question. We have a lot more of them coming up very soon. And in fact, I've also launched a free DeFi masterclass. Please join for the online version. I'm also going to do a session in Pune, offline session. Everyone will be invited for that. So very soon we're planning it. Sheenam's going on a short vacation. Once she's back, we'll do it.
Oh, not on a vacation, vacation.
You're going home, right? So that's still a vacation.
Not really, but yeah, okay. Any meetup, any internships opportunity available for students in HYFI?
Very soon, very soon. Just give us a few days, Yagnadeep. Next week we'll be announcing that also.
And any meetups in Delhi? See, I'm telling you, Delhi and Gurgaon we need to do meetups.
Yeah, so since you're going there, maybe you could do something there. Definitely we could plan that, yeah.
How do we attend the DeFi masterclass? Is it also on Creator? Yes, it is available on Creator and it happens on every Monday. So
no. The DeFi masterclass is only on Instagram. So I didn't want to have everything because people would get confused. So the blockchain developer course, English and Hindi, is running on Creator. The DeFi masterclass is running on Instagram. It's actually on the same day, so I didn't want people to get confused. That's the reason.
Yeah, that's why I got confused.
Sanjay wants to know, can blockchain developer course go on a fast pace? No. So what happens is a lot of the people doing the course are working. So they already find the pace very fast. So that's the reason we are doing only one session per week on Mondays, so that everyone can, finish it. So there are about over 3,000 people doing it. And like I said, most people are working, they're in different time zones. So that's the reason we're doing one session per week. But the DeFi one will happen faster. It's a smaller course, so it will happen faster. So do sign up for that also, Sanjay. Anything else? Would anyone would like to talk about? Okay. Awesome. So see you guys next Friday, 4 p.m. India time. And the recording of this will be available across our social media platforms.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Dee.
Bye. See you.